This is Mark from Enchantment of Eternity. Tell James Holden that I'm in control. And I'm here to talk about The Expanse. I'm joined here by two guests who are not really in distress. They're just pretending to be to lure you in. First, making his triumphant return is Darrin from These Reviews. Darrin, thanks so much for joining.
Hey, Mark. Yeah, really excited to be here, get a chance. Still be on the ring gates, but like Naomi, I was able to rig a little comm system here, so I'm glad I get to jump in this week.
Cool, yeah, no, great to have you back. And also joining us, the man who's planning his next road trip to Rhode Island with a bunch of gangsters, it's Mr. Don Willi.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Yeah, listen, I'm all about Earth. Earth first. Earth is number one, forever and always. Damn belters.
Yeah, I should have worn my belter hat and belter shirt today, but I got my Expanse shirt gone. Anyway, because all about the belt, Loda. Anyway. So, Darrin, you must be representing Mars then, so we got all three factions.
Yeah, exactly. So, funny you actually mentioned the hat. I was looking at a Doors and Corners shirt to order to add into my give me a nice Expanse t-shirt. So I like that. Yeah, got a few ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that on the catalog there, but hadn't gotten that one yet. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this latest episode. And it's funny, I got so many comments on my video saying that they didn't like this episode or they thought it was the weakest episode of the season. I'm like, I kind of liked it. I thought it was great. So anyway, start with your thoughts, Darrin, joining us again. What did you think of this latest episode?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't understand that. I think every episode of The Expanse is really good. And I get even their filler episodes always have so much stuff into it. I don't think filler is an appropriate title for it. But no, this was moving things forward. Obviously, I was happy that we got to see a little bit more of the Amos Clarissa journey and what happens going back to Baltimore. Seeing the new president. Sorry, gang. We do have a new president. But we're not to show the Secretary General was a real kind of interesting introduction with some fun thing, of course, as the whole belt went on. What's happening, Naomi? I mean, really, it was tense and intriguing, and yeah, it may not have been action-packed, but I couldn't take my eyes off it from beginning to end. So I don't know what people are talking about for it bad.
Yeah. I don't know, like I did feel like it was kind of a setup episode. It didn't do much to push the plot forward, but I mean, it's great setup, and I think you do need episodes like that from time to time. But apparently, that really bothered some people. They wanted the plot to go much further. But anyways, Don, I just wanted to point out in the chat, Sentience is saying that Don, you Loda, I'll throw a couple of rocks your way. So you better watch out. Anyway,
yeah. Listen, yeah, dust munching space crab. I don't know if that's an insult for belters, but that's my insult for belters.
Skinnies is the most common insult for belters. Dusters is Martians.
No, I was saying dust munching.
Well, there you go.
You know. Yeah. Anyway, whatever, long bones. Yeah. Listen, I like this episode. Amos is sticking with Peaches for some reason. I don't know why he decided that's going to be her nickname, but Peaches. All right, it works. Yeah. I don't see what the issue was with this episode. I liked it. Great setup. Still not enough Bobby, but
been severely lacking Bobby all season.
Yeah, I'm not understanding this. But yeah, but I'm still I want to see how this is all going to turn out, especially with the fact that you now have Holden and also Bobby and Alex on the way to try to get Naomi, and now Drummer knows about Naomi. Secretary General is like, yeah, you want to kill some innocent people in revenge? Why not? Yeah.
All right, cool. So
I'll let you get the rundown.
Cool. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into this. Oh, first of all, I want to point out Elvis in the chat is saying when an audience starts praising the character by saying how the actress is great, that's a sign of the character being dull. I don't know. I think, generally speaking, I have to disagree with that. Sometimes people praise the actress or actor for being great because the actor and actress is actually great. Like sometimes that enhances how well written the character is. Personally, just as a general rule. But anyway, but I wanted to talk about that because the first storyline I wanted to get into, which is the Amos and Clarissa storyline, I did want to start with the topic of actors and bad or good actors. Because, all right, so I know Darrin and Alyssa had this disagreement on the actor who played Marco. Particularly after, because I hadn't had a chance to talk to you yet after last week's episode, Darrin, because after last week's episode, I'm sold on that actor. I think he did a phenomenal job. Like he had like tears in his eyes when he was like portraying how upset he was. I think that actor's fantastic. And then this week I got several comments on my videos. I think this happened before, trashing the actor or actress who plays Naomi, Dominic Tipper, saying that she's not a good actor and that she really couldn't carry this episode, which I could not disagree with more. I thought she did a phenomenal, fantastic job. In fact, her acting was what really carried this episode, and I thought this was probably her best performance in the show to date. But so when I think about bad actors or who are miscast actors, I don't think about either of these. I think both Marco and Naomi is great. I think about Clarissa now. And I particularly her performance in this episode when she was talking to Eric the gangster and telling the story of her inmate's friend who like killed 5 children and act like they were still alive. Like I thought that was a well-written speech and it was powerful and made sense. I just thought it had very poor delivery. Like I did not buy her. She didn't sell it at all. She was acting like she was going out to dinner with friends, not that she was telling a deep story about an inmate killing her children and trying to convince this gangster to let go of everything he held dear. So I didn't buy that he actually bought into this. Just her whole journey with Amos, like I can't buy that she's like experiencing freedom for the first time. Like the lines are there, the lines express this, but her delivery does not. And to be honest, this is something I felt since season 3. And at first I thought maybe this is me being a snooty book reader because I had read the books first, and I had pictured Clarissa as being quite different. I pictured her being a lot smaller in stature because I guess that's how she's described in the books, and a lot more sort of quiet. But now I'm coming to terms with, I don't think it's just that. I think this is a bad actor. And I think she was miscast. So before we get into the Amos, Clarissa stuff overall, let's just start with that, the acting. Comparing Marco, Naomi, and Clarissa. If you guys have any thoughts with that, Don, I guess I'll start with you.
Okay, well, first off, here's one question I have. Is Marco supposed to be of Latin descent? Because
I think a lot of, he has the name Marco, but I think a lot of Belters are just really, really mixed race. Like they have all sorts of, yeah.
Yeah, because to me, like he looks like he's like either Indian or somewhere in either Middle East or Indian. I don't like, he doesn't give off Latin vibe, and for some reason I remember Alyssa kept on saying, he's like a Colombian drug lord. I'm like, What Columbia are we talking about here? Because I'm like, I'm definitely not getting that vibe off of him. So, I liked his performance in this particular episode, but I don't know, something. There's a certain amount of gravitas to me that he is missing. It's not that he's bad, but it's just like he to me does not come off as the intimidating factor in all of this that he should be. When I think of villains who really is like, all right, well, wow, yeah, this person is not someone I want to, ever be caught in a room alone with. I think of was Anthony Starr as Homelander. Like here is somebody who is, or not even just him. Giancarlo Esposito as Gus Fring. Or as Moff Gideon. These are performances that when I think of them.
Let me just interject by saying comparing any actor who plays a villain to Giancarlo Esposito is an unfair comparison. That is way too high of a bar.
I'm just saying. I mean, like, yes, I understand. I understand. It's not fair. But I mean, these are the villains that I've been watching on Amazon for the past couple of months before the Expanse came back. So, I'm like, yeah, I wanna give him, the look. Is he dressing down Philip in a way that seems believable? Yes. Is he believable to me that he would have all of these factions following him and being scared, like, oh my God, if we don't do what Marco says, we're done for. So, like, I don't know, maybe they haven't had his ruthless moment, like a personal moment, like those other villains have had. And that's maybe the thing that's missing is like the personal touch. Yes, you've thrown some rocks at some people, and you've kind of yelled and been nebulously intimidating, but there hasn't been the scene where he's choked the shit out of somebody in front of a bunch of people, and it's like, oh my God, when you get into shadow on people's face, like.
Excuse me, Don, throwing some rocks. He's killed billions of people. Started genocide.
Yeah, but it's just not to me. It's not as intimidating because it wasn't the up close and personal, effect of like. All right, do you remember Breaking Bad where it's the scene where damn, Walter and Jesse are inside the underground meth lab, and I forgot what the guy's name was, but he had been watching them do their whole operation the whole entire time, and he does a cook in front of Gus Fring, and Gus pulls out the blade,
the box cutter.
He pulls out the box cutter, and Walter is thinking he's about to kill him, and he just went and cuts his own man's throat.
Just watch the episode.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Don, and I kind of Elvis in the chat brings this up, that Marco is not a kind of caught in a room alone with the villain, and he doesn't leave that impression because he is not that. And I agree, he's a different kind of villain than the sort of Gus Fring or the Homelander. But anyway, Darrin, I see you're itching to talk.
So I want to jump in. I don't want to interrupt. Well, honestly, I think we're looking at probably in a couple of different ways, because I get where Dom's coming from, and I sort of feel that, but I have to acknowledge he's a great actor. he does know how to inhabit. He can do the emotions. He knows a lot of the subtleties. That's not what I meant when I talk about Marco's not being a very effective villain for me. And I think it goes that other direction of choices and presence. I don't feel the same kind of intensity of a presence, which obviously you're not getting from a Giancarlo Esposito, but that's why you cast Giancarlo Esposito, because he just has to be there on screen, and that's all you need. But I think in some ways it's choices. You know, what are the subtle choices you make in order to convey this, to switch from, you know, something where you're being pleasant and nice to suddenly being scary and intense. And I think, for me at least, a lot of the choices he makes are boring. They're very standardized choices. And I don't see that kind of uniqueness of that's grabbing me. And I know it's a very subtle kind of point here. But I just don't think that like I said, the choices he's making is not engaging me so much, even though he can definitely do the work. You know, he can sell the scene, he can be in the motion, he can play all of that. The acting does not isn't the acting is there, but the presence and the choices that go from rote villain to someone that really grabs me, he's just not making, at least not from my standpoint.
Oh wow. Okay. I mean, I that speech he gave after he threw the rocks at Earth, I was moved. Like, I thought this is someone not to be fucked with.
Sure, and I can see that is really just comes down as almost a you know, those are personal preferences, why we like these particular actors or these particular roles and don't. You know, they speak to us or they don't speak to us, and I think, you know, Marco's presentation, I think, is just kind of split. I think for a lot of people it is there and engaging, and you can see all those that, you know, layers underneath. You know, for me it's kind of more of like, well, I'm coming at this like the smooth, cool guy, and that's my base approach, and then I'm adjusting off of that. And I think coming from that point for me is just a little boring, because I've seen so many other variances.
Well, I got to talk about this next week when Alyssa's going to be here, but Don brought this up earlier, how she mentioned before that Marco is reminds her of a Colombian or like a drug lord or drug cartel, and I fail to see how that's a bad thing. When I think of drug cartel leaders we had in entertainment, I think of Pablo Escobar and Narcos, or Gus Fring, even though it wasn't the cartel per se, and they were like menacing villains. So I think if it reminds those type of villains, then I think he's doing a great job personally.
Well, all right, but if you look at like Clarissa, I think one of the reasons, and I think she's actually done well this season personally.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, I haven't. I mean, I've bought it, but I think again the depth isn't there, and I don't know if she's choosing that because her blockers are in, and she's trying to make a choice of like that's, you know, weighing her down and evening her out, you know, where she doesn't have a lot of depth. But I agree with you. Like the story that she told on this one, there wasn't that emotional punch in her delivery that pulled me in quite so much. Whether or not it's what they've given her to work with, or, you know, how they want the story told, I mean, those are creative decisions. But I think this is where the difference to me was, I think Marco would have pulled off all those scenes more effectively. And that's why I say that his acting is a lot better, is I think he can find those moments. Just the choices of where he's coming from doesn't impress me. Whereas for her, I'm fine with where she's coming from. I just don't think she always has the depth to convey what it is that she's trying to pull out. And that could just be, again, her maybe going, well, I'm going to drop everything down because I'm still on my, inhibitors and stuff, and it's messing with my system.
I don't know. I see that as kind of falling into a trap, because you can play stoic and still do a really great job. I think Leonard Nimoy and Brent Spiner are good examples of that. And so I don't think she's not doing a great job of stoic. She's just bad acting. Well, I want to talk about, okay, in the chat there's like a couple mentions about this, my comments on Clarissa. I think one person, I kind of lost it, but they were saying that they thought Clarissa, the actress, did a great job this season. Particularly the episode when she was first met Amos and she was like tied to the thing. And I gotta admit that was a better acting job in here. But they said that they agree that her acting job in this episode wasn't that good. And I think maybe that's kind of what I'm latching on to. But she's done, but I don't know, she's done better before, like that scene that I just mentioned. But I think overall, I think she was miscast. And I felt this way ever since season 3. To be honest. And I think, but for me, this episode really reminded me of that and drove me home. And I just want to find it in the chat here. Someone said something really good about, hold on, I can't find it. But anyway, they were saying that, oh wait, here it is. It was Doc Oberon said, with Clarissa, how much would that scene have been improved if she had stepped toward Eric to address him personally as opposed to just standing back and Amos talking more or less at him? Like, I agree. Like that, I think a better performer could have done that scene, that great dialogue, so much more justice. I don't know if you.
No, I think you're right. I mean, some of that's actor's choice. Some of that's just, blocking how the director wants to sort of set and stage things and whatever story they want to tell. But no, I agree. She's never really been a super impressive character to me. I got to like her, and I liked her arc at the end. I'm a sucker for a redemption arc. But I completely agree that there would have been, better choices to make. Somebody, let's see, Alyssa mentioned Arnold Schwarzenegger, an old Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. And I only see that because the difference here is Schwarzenegger has that presence. When he walks on, you want to see him.
Well, just to clarify what Alyssa said, she was comparing Marco and Norris to a Colombian or cartel member from an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, not someone like great like Pablo Escobar or Gus Fring.
Sure, I just thought, bringing him up as a different actor, which he's not a great actor, but he has a presence and he knows how to apply his strengths. They'll also pay him a lot of money, so that helps.
I don't see Elvis. I've actually been involved in filmmaking. I mean, to a very, very small degree. And you say stepping forward is about directing, not acting. That's not always the case. It depends on the director, depends on the actor. I think a lot of times directors give their actors free range to improvise, and especially as far as blocking goes, because I've done blocking before. Like, you go with the actors and you sort it out, and if the actors have any ideas, they can step forward. So I wouldn't put it entirely on the director. I think it's sure. And also I believe, I mean, it is in part, maybe it is in part the director's fault. Maybe the director should have saw that the scene, her acting wasn't working, sort of took steps to correct it. But as I said, this isn't the only example with her.
Look, they showed her peeing. That's the depth that you were needing right there to open the scene, right? Cable means you can show butts and people peeing, and that's quality drama right there. I'll stop.
So Don, what do you think about Clarissa's acting? Did you have an issue with it, or do you think it's fine? You disagree with me?
I mean, listen, I'm not gonna say that she was bad. Because I've seen bad acting before, I mean, it was marginal. I mean, yeah, there was nothing standout about her performance. Could there have been better choices made? Yes, but it wasn't. It wasn't offensive. It wasn't like, oh my God, get her off screen. Who cast you? Who cast you?
All right, Don, to be clear, I agree with that. I don't think her acting is the most terrible thing in the world. It's just I guess one of the main reasons of bringing it up is because other people have been complaining about Marco's acting or Naomi's acting. To me, they're fantastic. It's Clarissa who I'd point out who's kind of the weak point. But yeah, it's too late to recast her. Unless maybe she gets into a scandal. Anyway, sorry.
Clarissa's had some facial surgery between last season and this surgery.
And Sentient says it's average, not terrible. I think generally that's true. It's just this one scene I really was. It took me out of the scene. Her acting took me out of the scene. Like she didn't sell it to me.
And also, I mean, there are so many amazing performances in this. If you aren't up to awesome, you stand out as being different, and I think that might be part of it too, is, she's just not on par with everyone. I mean, she could probably act circles around me, but
but especially being paired to Wes Chatham, plays Amos, it's like, Anyway, let's go ahead and get into the storyline. I guess not much happens. We see that the blockers are starting to wear off, and they meet up with Eric, and Clarissa does a bad acting job of convincing. But I like the dialogue, the way she talks about, like, look, you're in denial. And it was a roundabout way of telling him that he's in denial, that everything that he lost was true. And I also like how it showcases Amos's inability, he can't, doesn't have any social graces, and his inability to sort of relate to Eric. And if Clarissa had not been there, he would not be able to convince him. He's just like, what, so you're in or not? And I love how Clarissa kind of looks to Amos like, come on, encourage him more. And he's just like, so you're in or not? which is a great Amos moment. So anyway, Darrin, let's start with you. Your thought.
Let's not forget the vodka.
What's that?
Let's not forget how he's just like, oh yeah, just like a case of vodka or whatever.
No, tequila. I love that because it always showcases throughout the whole show how whenever he always steals the liquor or whatever, and he stole that whole bottle of tequila earlier. I love how when he was going up the stairs with the goons, he's like going towards the tequila, and the goons have to be like, keep moving. But he made a point, like, well, if we're going on a trip, why don't we take that tequila?
It's going to be a long trip, No, I don't know. Again, more Amos is always kind of exciting, and I appreciate where he is going. This is kind of an unexpected direction for me, because this is not. I didn't know. I'm not really having any expectations of what I expect Amos's storyline at this point to be. But it does seem to be kind of a boring storyline, in the sense that it's like, we're going from A to B. Then we go up to Eric, who's supposed to be the super powerful kind of gang leader. But now he's not. And I didn't realize how difficult getting a ship to get off of Earth. And I figured if he was a gang leader and he wanted to do that, maybe he could. But obviously everything is destroyed. His power he sees is waning, which makes him susceptible to Clarissa's little story there. But if we're talking about people that aren't necessarily impressive, Eric is not an impressive villain to me. I'm not scared of him, even with guys around. There isn't a presence in that, which is something, especially being, with the kind of one arm. I know it's sort of a, is that like a belter thing? More in the books, because I've seen belters with the long arms and the damage, or is he just like
no, it's not a belter thing. I think it has. I haven't read this short story that explains all this, so I don't know for certain what it is. So I don't want to speak out of turn, but I do know that it's not a belter thing because he was born in Baltimore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, that's what I thought. But like I said, for somebody especially who might be seen physically as less capable in that atmosphere, when he's talking about that he's taken everything and he's worked it and he's built everything up, I have yet to see anything that tells that story for me. Whereas this is where you would want like a Giancarlo Esposito to come in and just stand there and you go, oh yeah, this is a guy I'm afraid of. And I think, I'm going with the story. I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but from a commentary standpoint, it's kind of boring because now we're just going, instead of a recovery and a rescue, this is just let's go from A to B and talk to this person, A to B and talk to this person, A to B and talk to this person. Just by the fact that it has Amos in it and tequila.
Ascension in the chat says that Eric got beat up horribly as a kid, so I'm assuming he's saying that that's where the deformity comes from.
Okay.
As someone in the chat asked, is Eric a villain? I don't know if a villain outright, but he is supposed to be menacing. And I actually agree with you and those in the chat saying that he doesn't come off as menacing. I think the actors, actually what you said about Marco, I would actually apply to Eric. That I think the actor is fine. Like, he's a fine actor, but he doesn't sell like the menacing gang. Like, I agree with you. I don't buy him as a menacing gangster. I think when they were casting, they were more concerned about finding someone who had a real life deformity that was similar to one the character had, rather than trying to find someone who could sell the gravitas of a gangster.
I would go with that.
Yeah. But anyway, Don, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I will agree that unfortunately Amos's storyline has gotten a little stagnant. Listen, the past couple of episodes, yes, there were moments that were really good, but it's kind of trudged along where it's like, all right, well, went to go see Peaches. Oh, we got trapped in the ground. All right, now we got to get it from underground. Okay, and we killed a guy and took all this stuff. All right, now we're traveling. Oh, hey, we made it to Baltimore. Hey, Eric, I know I'm not supposed to be back here, but we come on, we got to go. So, you in or not? Oh yeah, tequila. It's kind of like, yeah, in a lesser actor's hands, all of this could have been horribly wrong. it's only being saved by Wes Chatham at this point. So yeah, I mean, listen, think about it, right? Think about the events that have happened, and if you had an actor who wasn't able to sell it, think about how much more boring the story of Amos and Clarissa will be right now. So I mean, yeah, Eric as an intimidating figure. Again, I know people in the chat were saying earlier that Marco isn't so much a villain as he is a revolutionary. Still, I mean, listen, you know what? Look, I have been in the presence of real life gangsters. All right. Trust me when I tell you, they don't actually have to put their hands on you or do anything to you. If you are in the presence of an actual gangster, trust me, you will know, and you will be intimidated just by the fact that you are there. All right. So that is what I'm saying about Marco and also now Eric. And it's like, yeah, look, Eric looks defeated. All right, he looks like somebody that doesn't believe that he still has a grip on things. I mean, maybe that was the point. Maybe that's why he was so easily led by Amos to go and to leave Baltimore and head up to Vermont. And it's funny the look on Clarissa's face when he called Amos Timmy. He was kind of like, Timmy? Who the fuck is Timmy? Timmy? Aren't you Amos? So that was the kind of thing where again, if it wasn't for Wes Chatham, that whole scene could have collapsed in on itself, because it's not enough gravitas held by the other two actors to really elevate the material. And I mean, and the material isn't bad. That's the thing about it. The material is not bad at all. It's just one of those things where Yeah, like Eric looks defeated. He does not look like he believes in the whole I built Baltimore from the ground up. Like he doesn't look like he believes it.
Anyway, Sentient in the chat brings up something that I mentioned in my review, that Amos's story would be a lot better if they had the budget to show more post-asteroid carnage on Earth. Because it does seem, I'm like, we got that one quick shot of Baltimore in ruins, but to me that wasn't quite nearly good enough. And like the first shot of the first scene that he and Clarissa were in when they stopped for a pee, like that building looked perfectly intact. The trees around them looked perfectly intact. Like, I think, and I did bring up in my review that it's understandable because this is a TV show and it's not the most popular one in the world, like a Game of Thrones or Westworld or something. So they're not going to have the budget the way a $2 million or like $30 million blockbuster about disaster movie would. So it's understandable, but it is a bit disappointing, and I think it would sell more if maybe even if they could somehow fake some of the carnage, because I do believe that I didn't really get a handle of the devastation Baltimore felt until Eric explained it. So they're doing a tell not show, which again, it might be a necessary evil because of budget restraints. I don't know if Darrin, you're nodding your head. I don't know if you agree with that.
No. I think you're right. I think they are trying to tell more things. And I agree when he talks and says, oh, once the seawalls went and then it all flooded in and there was my old neighborhood gone, that I can start to picture. But it is something that we don't really see the devastation. And I think it does undercut kind of the severity of their journey, but also why it's kind of happening so fast. It was, one, we bust out of prison. Next one, we steal a guy's cabin and kill him. And then by the next one, we're in Baltimore and we're talking to Eric. So yeah, there's not a lot of time spent in really that kind of like setup stuff, which, yeah, I think it would make it better. I think it would make it, more interesting. I would have liked it more, but I don't know if it necessarily undercuts the story that they are telling because there are so many other things happening. I can accept this. This is the one limitation they've got for this because they have so many other things happening. But I think it would give a bigger impact to what they're going through if we could really viscerally get a feel for the devastation.
Well, if this show wasn't so goddamn underrated, as popular as it should be, maybe they could have the budget for this. But anyway, mostly I do agree with you, Darrin, that this is something you kind of have to accept and sort of use your imagination. Anyway, a lot of people in the chat, several people in the chat are pointing out that in the novels, and it's probably true in the show too, that Eric himself is not intimidating, that his goons are. He often actually would never let anyone see him because of that, and so he would let his goons do all the intimidating. So he would be kind of this mythical Eric figure that no one would actually see.
Yeah, but you still have to intimidate your guys.
Yeah. That's true.
I mean, yeah. Again, that's it. If we just haven't really seen why he is the person he is outside of just being told that he is,
right?
Which again we can sort of accept, but we're not going to have that same connection if we don't see like why is this guy Pablo Escobar, to bring up that old thing, or someone of that ilk where you're like, oh geez, you don't even want to meet this guy because he'll take you out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys ever seen Blow, but yeah, it's a story. For those of you who may not have seen it, Blow is a story of an American drug smuggler who got in with Pablo Escobar, right? And so when they introduced Pablo Escobar in the movie, he is this very kind of charismatic, kind of non-threatening kind of dude, but then he orders someone to be killed like right in front of him, and you see like in the background the person getting killed, and you know, the main character who's Boston George, who Johnny Depp plays, is kind of like, oh my god, like what the hell just happened? He's like, hey, look, man, look, as long as everything is cool and you do business right, you don't have to worry about anything like that. And again, that is the thing that Eric is missing, because it's like, yes, even though he may not be intimidating, you still need that undercurrent of, yeah, okay, I may not be the guy to kill you, but I can order these guys to kill you, and it'll happen just like that, without hesitation. And I think, like the comparison I was even making with Marco is like, yeah, okay, even if he's not the guy to actually do a violent act, you still have to believe a violent act can happen because of whatever it is that he's involved in. And that like I said, that is the one thing that is missing. And then Eric earlier, he said that Elvis in the chat was saying that he was in the military for 6 years and he's dealt with gangsters, and Marco doesn't come off as one. I'm guessing that Eric doesn't come off as one either.
Well, no, Elvis actually just now in the chat says that Eric is not Pablo Escobar. He's more like Yuri from Leaving Las Vegas, which has been several decades since I've seen that movie, so I'm not getting that reference.
Yeah, I've never seen that movie. So
it is a great movie. Nicolas Cage drinking himself to death.
It's worth it. It is. It's totally depressing, but there's some. That's Cage when he really wants to work, really do the job.
Okay.
Before he became a clown of himself. Anyway, not the bees.
Not the bees.
All right. So, getting off topic here. Let's go ahead and move on to another storyline. Let's talk about Avasarala and the new Secretary General giving his big speech about "we will prevail," and then how they go into Mr. Earth first here, and then okay. So here's a question I have that I want to ask both of you, is because in the next scene, when they have this sort of roundtable discussion, the general, or is he? I believe he's the general, but Delgado comes up with a plan to destroy Palace Station, and a bunch of there's a large civilian population there, and it's sort of impossible to assess just how many of them actively support Marco. And so other people in the room are completely appalled at the idea. Avasarala doesn't like the idea. In fact, when he tries to use her destroying Demos as an example, she's like, shoots him down. It's like, actually, no. That was a totally different situation. Of course, little does he know that she actually was against destroying Demos. She just went along with it because she wanted to root out the conspiracy that Aaron Wright was involved with. So she was just pretending to go along with it. So I love how she immediately shoots him down. So this is starting a schism between Avasarala and Delgado, who was her closest ally, and then Delgado goes behind her back to the Secretary General to try to reinforce destroying Palace Station. Now, the question I want to ask, and I guess I'll start with Mr. Earth first over here. Do you think they should do that? Do you think it's a good idea to actually destroy Palace Station?
Destroy them all.
Okay.
Listen, you know what? we got the ring. We got the ring gate. We don't need the damn belters anymore. We don't need any damn mining colonies out on some rocks in space. We've got the ring gate. We have 1,300 new worlds to explore. 1,300. Hey, who cares about some damn people floating on some rocks in the middle of space, right? We have planets. Okay, all right. We can finally get these resources to better Earth. All right. We can use these resources to better the planet. We can get people off of basic income. All right. We can feed populations. And plus, think about it. After the destruction that happened because of that damn greasy-haired belter fuck Marco, all right? We are going to we're going to need something to lift the morale of the people and let them know that we can and we will rebuild. So if we got to wipe out some crusty, dusty long bones that can't even walk on a planet's surface without getting crushed to death because of regular 1G gravity, get the hell with him, man. Kill them all like God sort them out.
Okay, so several comments in the chat. First one that I love, Cynthia says, Don, I'm sending those rocks your way as we speak. Basang! And then Inquisitor Darth says, that, sir, is genocide, not good for future political arrangements with Mars. Anyway,
are you mean collaborators?
Darrin. For the counterpoint, let's go to Darrin.
No. I mean, they bring up an interesting point. To me, this is the real interesting stuff of points to have for their show, because you can really get into some really interesting philosophical and military tactic discussions here. Yes, while they may be using human shields or whether terminology that likes to be preferred to use, the problem is you at Destroy Palace, anybody who is not with Marco now is. Anybody that might be a disagreement now is. So any chance that you have to widen a schism that might be manifesting in there, an issue that might be, if they look, if Earth went, no, we are after Marco. We are not after the Belters, and distinct that, then it gives them political advantage. And yeah, like Inquisitor Darth did mention, you have future political arrangements. You have to be able to make peace accords at some point. You have to be able to make agreements, and you have to be seen as somebody that isn't intending to wipe out anybody that opposes them. And honestly, that's what scared me about the Secretary General's speech, is I was hearing Aaron right throughout all of that. So when he sort of stepped back and was like, okay, maybe we don't do all of this, I was like, I don't really know where to go with this, because he seemed like the guy that, like, I'm nervous and don't know what to do. And then he gets up and it's like, kind of like the feel of this. Yeah, we're going to destroy him. Yeah. Destroy all of them. Yeah. Well, right. I like this drug, man. Keep it on me. So it kind of felt that way. So I love that they're kind of playing with that. He hasn't totally gone that way. And I like that they're having the discussion, but definitely from a tactical standpoint, you would be closing a lot of doors unnecessarily just to basically make a gesture that we are upset with what you've done. And I don't think that's a fair trade-off.
Well,
all right. Oh, go ahead, Don.
Real quick, I just want to say, but look, there are millions of lives destroyed. Billions of people on Earth who are mourning because of Marco and his free navy and those collaborators on Mars. All right? And
revenge is a personal objective, not a political one.
Yeah, you know what?
I would go after Marco for killing somebody doing that, but you don't wage war against an entire people because of what one guy did, even if he says he's leading them. Because
all right. Okay, I gotta jump in here. There's a couple of great things in the chat. So Doc Colburn says, if you're after Marco, all you have to do is shout Marco and then wait for someone to respond Polo, which, Marco is actually my real name, and I grew up using the name Marco, and I am so fucking sick. Every time, you don't know how many times in my life I heard that joke. But anyway.
You're Marco.
Yes. I'm throwing your rocks as your way, Don. Anyway, also in the chat, Sentient says, murder, 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 kill, kill, kill. It's the Arthur way. And that made me think of, so Don, you're basically saying, let's go murder them.
Why did you bring up Game of Thrones? Why would you do that? Oh my God! Listen, no. We have nothing in common with Captain Slack Sparrow. Okay, no.
All right, so let me try to sort of be the devil's advocate here, because I can see how this is an interesting sort of thread to needle, and I actually thought this was a great scene, how there were different perspectives in this room. Some people shouting, well, why are we even considering this? Like, we shouldn't even be talking about this. And other people are like, well, fuck the Belters. They killed more of us than we're going to kill them. So it seems just right. And here's the thing. I do ultimately side with Avasarala because she's awesome. But I can kind of see the point of view that you do want a strong response. That Earth needs to see a strong response. They need to feel safe, because at the moment they do not feel safe. They do not feel protected. And yeah, sure, there is a need. Like, it's not really about, because Darrin, you mentioned revenge earlier, but it's not really about revenge for revenge's sake. It's about sort of holding those accountable who need to be held accountable. And they need to take decisive actions to get Marco. Now, I agree, destroying Palace is going too far, but then I can see the other perspective where not taking strong, decisive action could seem as weak, and not holding those accountable who need to be held accountable. So I can kind of see this as an interesting. It's not a one-to-one sort of analogy, and I can see why they need to be careful. And it's hard because the belt is a different situation where there is no, they're pointing out in the room, there is no defined military bases, there's no defined military targets. So all of them are, and Marco, in fact, is using these civilian populations as human shields. So, like, I totally agree with Darrin where you pointed out that and this is what they pointed out in the show too, that if they did go through with this, that would only militarize other civilian population to join Marco's cause. So you're only actually helping Marco's cause in the end.
So, but if you're not helping Marco's cause, if you wipe him and everybody who was born in those dead
but here's the thing, Don. If they destroy Palace Station, Marco's probably not going to be there, because they don't know where Marco is. Like, they can't just shout Marco is found Poland, and so they're just doing this as a way to draw him out, but and to enact revenge, being like, look, you attack us, we're going to attack you right back. Which I can see the logic behind that, not just heated emotion, but and of course it is driven by heated emotion, but I can see the logic behind it. But I think ultimately I do side with Darrin and what Avasarala was saying, that you only militarize the civilian population against you if you do that. So, but it's hard to see what to do, because I think something definitely does need to be done.
Oh yeah, well, real quick though, I don't think Delgado actually went behind Avasarala's back. I think that he was invited by the Secretary General to the office, and he told him, "Okay, listen, you wanted to say something earlier. Here's your chance now. Speak." So I don't think he just went there on his own. Like, hey, you mind if I get an audience with you so I can enact this plan to go and wipe away all the Belters.
Yeah, I agree with Don. I think he was summoned to that. And
sure, I was kind of just speaking.
Sure. But I also think, I understand the decision to, like it says, we have to be sure that we're strong. We have to make a move back. Earth wants, we wanted the population to see, from a symbolic standpoint, I see what the desire to go after Palace or some such target. But I think politically, I think he may have made the actual right choices. Well, let's just focus on recovery and taking care of the people to show that we are caring for them. And I think that that can buy them the time to then do a more of a tactical response, because Earth still depends on the belt for resources. If they get squeezed out, I think Earth is going to be in a bad place. So I think even from a tactical standpoint, making a more a specific attack as opposed to just a politically gesture attack for to show strength is a better choice. And again, I'm not on the committee to advise the Secretary General.
Let's see. Elvis in the chat says, those experts on Earth think that Marco's next move is to destroy the ring. I didn't know that Earth is being run by fools. I don't know if I agree with that assessment. I don't think it's so foolish to think that he might destroy the ring or attempt to, because, well, at least, I don't know, they haven't gotten to this that much in the show, but in the novels, Marco's whole thing is he saw the ring and the colonization as a threat to the Belters, because it would cause the Belters to go extinct, because they would no longer require them to mine the minerals in the belt, because they could just have all these other worlds which the Belters cannot live on. So he saw the ring as a threat. So them thinking that he might destroy the ring, I don't think is that crazy of an idea, personally.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, those damn dirty Belters, all right, they need to stay away from the ring, which is rightfully the domain of those who can actually survive it.
All right.
I think it's also silly because I think there are technically going to be more resources to find in astral bodies versus planet side, primarily because heavy metals, which we need and like, gold specifically, have all sunk to the core of a planet. That's only additional bombings that have seeded our particular crust. So a lot more of those resources are technically going to be caught in rocky asteroids than on planet. But that's me.
Whatever, Belter lover.
Elvis says obviously he will take the ring and apply taxes. Well, that would be a smarter move, but I still don't think it's the craziest thing in the world, especially after what he just pulled off, to suggest that they have no idea what he's capable of at this point. Let's see. All right. Let's go ahead and well, actually, no. Before we move over, I want to ask: what do you think is the situation here? Because I kind of thought that the new Secretary General, as the Transportation Minister, is just going to be Avasarala's puppet. But now it's saying that he might be more of like Delgado might be trying to use him as a puppet now, and that he might side with him, and they might be leaning more towards Delgado's way of making this attack. So what do you think he's going to decide? Do you think he's going to side with Avasarala or Delgado in this situation?
Darrin, go ahead.
I don't know. From a personal standpoint, I certainly hope that he goes with Avasarala. I appreciate him getting the insight. I think that it was good for him to get the actual unedited version of what Delgado was thinking in order to make a decision. I'm actually surprised that he might be a little stronger than he was, as an individual than he first proposed, and he might be more of a wild card in the sense that, I thought that he was just going to be a possible puppet. He's looking for advice, and then he does his, Ehrenreich speech about striking back at the belt and showing that the Earth is first. And I was like, whoa, he's gone full Trump. But then as he walks back, he's like, well, I don't know. And then he's suddenly not sure.
Well, to be fair, I wanted to point out that I actually got the impression from that scene that Avasarala coached him in that speech, that she was happy with his words.
Yeah, from the speech back with Delgado and him and saying, oh, no, it was perfect. You showed the strength. It just, again, it kind of surprised me. But I think he's going to be a bit more of I feel that he's going to be a bit more of a random or loose cannon than what Avasarala is necessarily expecting. Does that mean that he could be manipulated by Delgado potentially? Or does he fall in love with the power and position that he has And that's my little bit of concern, is that he's going to get more caught up in being Secretary General than doing the Secretary General job. If that makes sense.
Yep, nah, can definitely see that. Anyway,
Lucky, what do you think?
Well, Lucky obviously agrees with me. Earth first. You haven't seen any cats in on any Belter ships, have you? So, listen, at the end of the day, the transportation. Excuse me, the former transportation secretary, now Secretary General. He seems to kind of want to be a little player in this game, whereas before he seemed more like he was going to be a puppet or a pawn. And I think from him calling Delgado in was him trying to reinforce or to gain some sort of confidence in the I'm going to be the kind of tough on terrorism kind of guy. I think that's what he wanted to project. And when he made the original speech, he was kind of like, I don't know if it was believable. And so now I think he's trying to gain the confidence that, okay, yeah, if I say this and I back it up with an actual action, then, it's going to be more believable. I mean, look, because at the end of the day, think when Naomi was telling Philip that, hey, you just aided your dad in killing millions of people, right? And he, had no compunction about it one way or the other, because it's not something that he actually had to experience. And this is also something that the new Secretary General is thinking about in terms of, okay, yeah, it's a thing, it's an action that's being done. But if you're not seeing the bodies, then it's you don't have to necessarily think about it. I mean, when in World War II, when they dropped the bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, it's like, yeah, the only people who really had to think about it were the flight crews. The generals and the president and the cabinet members who were here stateside didn't really have to think about it in terms of like, oh my God, that's thousands of people who just lost their lives. No, it was just an action. It was all right. We need to win this war. We need to do a thing to win the war and to end it swiftly. Okay, this is a thing we can do. All right, run and do that. So I think that's what you have these characters not taking into account. For them, it's more of, yeah, we did a thing. Yes, we can quantify it in our head in terms of, numbers, right? Oh, well, hey, it's not as bad for them because it's only 15,000 Belters as opposed to however many millions of people on Earth. So proportionately, it's not even, it's not even that great of a response. This is a blip on the radar, but no, those are actual people, so yeah, I mean,
well, it sounds like you're being a bit more reasonable now, though.
yeah, listen, obviously, look, I'm not sitting here, obviously, I'm not actually advocating for genocide, because that would be, absolutely ridiculous. But I do, as someone who works in government, I see how sometimes people get reduced to numbers. And sometimes it can be a little disheartening, because like, hey, no, those aren't just numbers; those are actual people. If you do this, someone loses their job and then in turn possibly loses their home. There's a cascade effect to this. It's not just okay, yeah, we were able to cut a budget here and cut these jobs, and oh, look at how much money we saved. I'm like, yeah, but you do realize that on the other side of that, there are actual human beings that get affected by it, right? And unfortunately, that's why Delgado said, "Hey, look, I'm just here for the response. I'm not here for the morality part of it."
Yeah. All right, so I think we do need to move on, but I did want to address earlier the comparisons to Trump. I think Darrin said it, and a couple of people in the chat said it with this speech. But I actually I didn't think of Trump, I actually thought of W. Bush, because to me, this is almost a straight out 9/11 analogy. And I think that's actually quite strong. And I think their need for revenge and their need to strike back was very similar to the whole national need to strike back after 9/11. And like Al Qaeda was a very different enemy that the U.S. wasn't used to fighting, Marco and the OPA is also a very different enemy that they're not used to fighting, so they don't really know how to handle it. Of course, yeah, and of course, a lot of that resource money to consider as well. So I thought this was a pretty apt 9/11 analogy myself.
No, I think you're right. I think that really is 9/11 is definitely more of an analogy, especially more of a sort of a terrorist hit, not really a representative of an actual government and the human shields and all that. Now, I actually mentioned Trump again, not even really wanting to get into the whole discussion that could probably go into, really more from the point of someone who feeds off of crowd energy than somebody that was necessarily like warlike and going after, let's go and destroy him, but more of as he got into it and the crowd was responding, then he was just going where he felt the crowd wanted to go. Which is, look, I don't like Trump personally, but I do think he knows how to read a crowd and build it up. I think he does have that capacity. So that's really what my comparison was coming from, more than his crowd.
Me personally, I was expecting the Secretary General to say evildoers, but anyway, let's go ahead. Let's move over and get into, since we talked about him a lot, let's talk about the Father of the Year, who I like to refer to him as, Marco Norris. Man, isn't he just the best dad ever? So, so Philip's like good best friend and mentor dies, and he's like, and Marco, the loving father, is like, well, it's your fault, you killed him. Like, what? And at first I didn't even understand the logic behind that, but someone's saying, well, because he brought Naomi on the ship and Naomi's the one that killed him, then he's somehow Philip is responsible. What an asshole. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if this is him just being a dick or if this is like a strategic move to manipulate Philip further, or to be like, this is your fault, if he actually blames Philip for Sin's death. But the other interesting piece of information we get in this short scene is that they think Naomi's dead. So that kind of answers why they sort of let her get away on that ship, because they don't know she's on the ship. They think she's dead, which, as I said in my review, that's actually a safe assumption. I mean, it's highly unlikely someone could survive the hard vacuum of space and fly straight into the other ship in order to get in. So obviously Philip didn't see that happening, so they're just assuming she's dead, which makes a lot of sense to me. But anyway, Don, let's get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I said earlier, Marco gave Philip, the dressing down that he felt he deserved. I mean, I'm wondering if Philip finally will see that what Naomi said is true. Like, yes, he would let you die for him in a heartbeat, but he would never die for you. And so, with Sin being there and him saying, well, yeah, this is all your fault, yeah, I mean, I immediately got the whole, yeah, if you wouldn't have brought your mother on the ship, this wouldn't have happened. Um, but at the same point, I mean, like, he was also kind of like, well, yeah, Sin was kind of disobeying what I was trying to get accomplished. So I'm pretty sure there's a part of it too. That's like, yeah, yeah, you're my oldest friend. You were supposed to, be here at the end, just as you were in the beginning. But there's also a part of it too where he's like, yeah, but you also wanted to help that damn traitor. So a lot of this is ego. A lot of it is ego driven, and yes, I noticed the mask. A lot of it is ego driven, and is there going to be some way where Philip finally is able to break out of this whole thing of have to impress my father? Father belter, big belter man, must impress the father. So yeah, hopefully he gets his head out of his ass at some point and realizes that, yeah, uh, this whole being a pirate prince with my father isn't really working out the way I was hoping it would, and he does something of redeemable quality. I mean, but he is a filthy belter, so I'm not sure that there's any redeeming him at all.
Look, I'm not expecting Philip to do a Zuko type transformation in this. Last Airbender reference, anyone? Okay. Chat got it, I'm sure.
I got it as well.
Thank you. But I think we are looking at that kind of thing. Is I think Philip does have to come up underneath the thumb of his father, and of course he's the kid. He is susceptible for the viewpoint of his father. I think this is another one of those little notches where he may start to think that maybe mom was right about you, because instead of a chance to console his son for the loss, where they could bond upon this and even turn that responsibility to pointing out, oh, your mother did this and so on. I mean, even more so, he's putting it on Philip because he brought his mother on board. And I think as opposed to, again, this is Marco's fatal flaw, is he's attempting to manipulate his son as opposed to bond and lead with him as a father. Somebody did mention in the chat, Elvis, that you have to switch from father-son to military commander-soldier to understand Marco. And I think that's a fair point, except that he is his son. And any idea that he wants to kind of take over, he has to inhabit both roles. And I think the more that he sees that Marco will choose manipulating him versus consoling him or bonding with him, I think that's just going to further the fissure between Philip and his dad, which is already, we can see from Philip's reaction, starting to widen. He may not necessarily go to his mom, but he may start to feel out that his dad is not the person that he thought that he was. And that's really all that has to happen for Naomi to effectively achieve what she wanted.
I think that's actually a really good point. And I heard like the showrunners, producers talking about Philip in particular, saying that to understand that he's kind of a classic portrayal of the sort of child soldier-esque who sort of grew up as a soldier. So I do think Elvis makes some good points that in a lot of cases he is looking at him more as his military commander rather than his father. But I do think you also make a good point that he is his father. So a part of him is going to notice that he's not treating him with love and respect, and that's going to get to him and that might actually break through his military training.
Yeah, because I think that's what Philip needs. That's why he grabbed his dad. The military stuff isn't the fulfilling part that he needs. He needs that kind of connection, and he's not getting it from his father. And he's going to see that wow, and now he's even more isolated because he's surrounded by people that are only listening to his father. Who is he going to reach out when he needs to talk to someone? And I, like I said, I think, yeah, being the soldier is one thing, but Philip needs family.
Absolutely. So Alyssa in the chat says, I'm sure Don made a good point there, but I am super distracted by the cute kitty. Let's see, my cat's sleeping in the background. Wake up! Anyway, let's go ahead and move over to the next storyline. Let's talk about Holden and Alex and all them. And this is interesting because we got Holden seems to be sort of obsessed with finding Naomi and finding her at all costs. And Bull is not in. He's like, I'm not going to go on a suicide mission just to find Holden's girlfriend. And Monica seems to be sort of more the voice of reason. She's not so sure that the protomolecule was destroyed, whereas Bull and Holden seem to be satisfied with that. And again, I sort of hinted at last week that actually might not be the case. They might not, shouldn't be so sure that it was in fact destroyed. And then you have Alex, who finds Naomi and answers, and we'll get to Naomi stuff later, but he sort of answers the distress call and is all ready to help out. And as soon as I could tell the look in Holden's face as soon as Alex reported that he found her, that Holden's not going to listen to any reason. He's like, there's Naomi, let's go get her, and nothing's going to change his mind or stop him. Which I thought was a pretty interesting dynamic. But anyway, Darrin, if you have any thoughts on this whole storyline here.
No, and in fact, I see Bull's point of view on this, was because, yeah, they're already in a dangerous thing. They were going after the protomolecule, which was a danger to the entire system. If they think that is destroyed, and I'm with you, yeah, a ship that just blows up as soon as you shoot it does not carry the thing that you were looking for. That's just, that's just basics 101 there. But yeah, I mean, I have to agree with Bull. The fact is, like, attacking Marco, hoping to find Naomi somewhere in there is a crazy mission. And I understand Holden, but I love her. She's my girl. She's part of my crew. This is what we do. That is the strength that has kept the Rossi going. But yeah, once they get an actual lead on it, then I completely understand, especially if the ship seems to be by itself or out in the middle of nowhere and is not going to be threatened or surrounded by other gunships. Yeah, I mean, I could totally see there's not even a reason to not go after that. They're already out. I don't know. I mean, outside of kind of establishing that and just sort of the connection of where is she? Oh, we found her. Now we've got is he going to get the other message in time in order to not blow up and do all of that? That's the tension here. But otherwise, yeah, this is definitely a connective piece, which seems like a lot of Holden stuff this season. It's like, okay, we just got to get Holden over here, and then we got to get Holden to make this choice. And later on, he'll do his Holden things. But yeah, that's all I really had with these sequences. I mean, they were cool. I like the energy back and forth. I like them reconnecting with Alex and Bobby, obviously, get everybody together. But yeah, to me, there wasn't just a whole lot more in this outside of just points of view.
Yeah. I did really want to put out in the chat, Colonel Doomsday brings up an article that suggests that perhaps they will replace Alex with Bull next year. And I will say I have read that article, and it's from Screen Rant, which I don't want to say scream too many bad things about them, but they can be a little bit clickbaity. So I think that is just pure speculation on their part. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. I mean, I think that perhaps could happen, but I'm still really hoping for a recast. I mean, but if they are gonna get rid of Alex, then Bull would be a good replacement, sure.
He's naturally in the place to do that, at least. So
he's already the pilot there, but
yeah,
I don't know if I'd like the dynamic he would bring. He's a bit of a Debbie Downer anyway.
No, I mean, look, losing Alex is definitely a bad thing. You know, I mean, I understand with the actors thing, and there's choices that have to be made, and honestly, that's on Cass Anvar for doing whatever he did to put himself in that position. You know, but yeah, it doesn't have the same kind of family we've been through shit feel. Bull versus, you know, with Alex, obviously, and I think that I don't know. I think for storylines, why have extra complications that we should have already sorted out?
Oh, Alyssa in the chat says replacing Alex with, or probably meant replacing Bull with Alex would be no bueno. Ooh, I wouldn't have that big of an issue with it personally, but I also agree with Alyssa says much prefer a recast of Alex, which totally agree. I really hope they go that way. Honestly, I'm like so hoping they recast Alex rather than replace him with Bull, because Bull should be on freaking Tycho. But anyway, Don, your thoughts on this whole Holden situation here?
Yeah, listen, you know, at this point, it's like you said, they basically upgraded Bull and Monica, so this way they have named characters that people recognize, so that this way Holden would have dialogue, you know. And it's funny because, like, how is Monica the sensible one here? Like, when the hell did that happen? You know, so yeah, I mean, listen, she has compassion for Holden in this situation, but even she knows, like, yeah, dude, yeah, okay, find Marco, and also Proto Molecule probably not destroyed. And I understand that's your girlfriend, but you know, like, dude, important things. So, like, the fact that Monica is the voice of reason. Monica is the voice of fucking reason right now. Wow, you know, yeah, it's just yeah, it's one of these things where like, again, if this material was in the hands of lesser actors, it could have fell apart. But the fact that, you know, you have three very talented actors in these roles is what helps to bring it together. You know, because think about it, they really aren't doing shit. They haven't been doing shit for a while. So yeah, I mean, you know, the fact that you have believable actors is it's what makes it, you know, watchable. Because think about it, if it was freaking, and as much as I hate to say is, imagine if Monica was played by Amelia Clark. Might not work as well. You know. So I mean, hey, you know, James Holden being played by shit. I don't know. Name an actor that's really not all that great. Fuck it. James Holden being played by, you know, Nicolas Cage post Con Air.
All right, we're gonna take the Rossi out and we're gonna hunt down those freaking Marco Pelters. Yeah!
You know,
No, not the proto molecule. No, not the proto molecule.
Let's see, Bull being played by
All right.
boy, but you get my point. You know,
I disagree with you on Amelia Clark, by the way.
yeah, you know. So
I think she can work that too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, shit. Even Holden being played by Kit Harington probably wouldn't work out.
In the chat.
I don't want it.
She's my queen.
Have to find her. She's my queen.
Okay. You know, I know this was kind of funny, but I'm going to bring up Elvis's comment about Nick Cage playing Marco Inaros. He would make choices that would be really interesting. I'm just going to say that there. That would be a really interesting thing to see. I don't know if it would come across quite as menacing, but it would be interesting.
I think that thought should make you appreciate the actor who already plays him more. Personally, anyway. All right, so let's go ahead and move over to the next storyline. Let's talk about Drummer and Friends. So I really love these scenes. At first I thought they were kind of boring, but then I think we kind of needed them to get this sort of norm. It really establishes what her whole storyline is going on with her. That so they're scavengers now, not salvagers, going through picking the bones of the ships that Marco destroyed. Now apparently this was the faction that we saw their leader in season 4, that when Marco was in the airlock, and one of the Ashford voted to kill Marco, and there was someone else who was like, I say no, and so she wanted to kill Marco as well. And now apparently, so they're all dead now. Marco killed them, and there's Kara, I believe her name's Kara. Her story is that Marco invited them to join them, but they turned him down, and Marco's like, you may go in peace. And they went in peace, but they're pirates, and they attack other ships, and they happen to attack ships that had already joined Marco's cause, so Marco then killed and destroyed them all. Personally, I think that is kind of a protection racket situation. He just used any excuse to kill those people for turning him down. The whole go in peace was complete pretense, and plus he could use, if people call him out on it, he could be like, what, I'm just protecting the people I said I would protect. And so he comes off as this great belter leader who protects his friends, when really he's just like a mob boss killing people who turned him down. He's just totally using that excuse, especially if they're raiders who raid other ships, and pretty much all the ships in the belt now belong to Marco. It's eventually they're going to raid one of his ships. It's going to happen. And so it was just a giant excuse. And so I completely agree with Drummer and her friends who point out that if we had said no, that would be us. I think they're 100% correct that if they had said turn Marco down, then someone else would be picking through their bones at this very moment. But of course, Drummer is very unhappy with the situation now because they have that Carol, or what's that, Carol, or whatever her name is.
Corral, yeah.
Carol looking over her shoulders. And I've heard comparisons to Diago as a despicable character you just want to see die. You just want her to die. I think people brought this up in the chat. Yeah, you're welcome. And the actress actually does a good job selling her as a terrible character. You just want her to die. And so and that leads into the scene where Drummer hears a distress call from Naomi, and Drummer's like, we gotta go, and Corral's like, no point in going, she's dead. And then and then Drummer's getting pissed off, but then Corral doesn't know how fucking lucky that she is that Oksana, I believe her name is, just happened to be in between her and Drummer. She is so fucking lucky that she was, because she was like, Naomi was a traitor and she deserves to die. Like, you say that to Drummer, you're fucking dead. Like, she is so goddamn lucky that she's still alive after saying that to Drummer, because Drummer doesn't give a fuck what the consequences are. If they're going to be killed by Marco or whatnot, you don't fucking say that. And she almost, like, she went for a gun. She would have killed her right there if it wasn't for Oksana, who was a bit more rational, realizing that we're all going to die if you do that. And maybe they can enact Darrin's plan to view but anyway, and then you get that horrifying scene where you see Drummer screaming and yelling, and after and I think the fact that we, the audience, know that Naomi is actually not dead doesn't take away from that scene. I think it still makes it an extremely powerful scene. Talk about an amazing performance. So I actually love this stuff. Anyway, Darrin, you have thoughts on this storyline?
First off, hats off to Kara G, who is awesome with her very presence and all of her choices. And a scene like this showing that she can reach into the depth and really, live in this character's skin. Again, this is the kind of setup. I like the fact that she finds the corrected or the altered transmission after Drummer left. Because you're right. I think if there was empty space between Corral and Drummer before, she would have been dead. But I think the moment that she even thinks that Naomi is actually alive, she'll kill Corral and she'll tell her crew, I'm taking this ship. You can come with me, or you can go on the other ships and go off. And I think that's going to be the big family discussion there. Is I think Drummer's going to go after Naomi the moment that she hears that she's actually alive. And I don't think anyone's going to stop her, but I think that might be the split with the family. And maybe that's what's going to start some of the Belters really fighting against Marco, because they see, look, Marco will kill you if you don't go with him. On the other hand, that's not really the Belter way, where this is different factions being together and we all have our own thing. That's part of the Belter freedom lifestyle, I think, is part of something that they gravitate towards. And now being under the thumb of someone that is going to lie and manipulate and will stab you in the back at the first opportunity. To me, this is going to be the real interesting point. Now, whether she spaces Corral or shoots her or does something, as much as I'd like a weekend at Bernie's bit with her.
Or throws her down the elevator shaft to the listeners.
Yeah, tone-wise, I'm not sure if that totally works for the show. But I do think, like, the moment that she finds this out, that's going to be like, the fire's going to be lit, and I think it's going to be like, powered up, because from everyone's position, I think we're really probably going to have these last episodes just screaming, for lack of a better word.
I did want to address Elvis in the chat. Said that Corral said later, famous drummer temper. It was interesting to see, i.e. she provoked Drummer on purpose. That may be the case because she's all arrogant, but she's a moron. Like, she would have been dead. She's lucky to be alive, and she doesn't realize it because she's arrogant. And that's why someone needs to kill her. But then, anyway, Don, your thoughts on this whole thing?
So yeah, hot take. Personally, I think that the spy is the bad actor. Okay. Yes.
Spy. What do you mean the spy?
Marco's spy.
Oh. Do you think she's a bad actor? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if you want to talk about bad performances, I think she is the weak link in the chain here. Yeah, I mean, like, she just comes off as just someone who's, like, obviously bitter and conniving. Like, obviously bitter and conniving. Not even trying to be, subtle about it. And that's why, if it wasn't last week, then it was the week before, where it was like, yeah, obvious backstab is obvious. I mean, like, she puts it so out there that she has contempt for everyone that it's like, okay, yeah, there is no point at which I'm gonna be like, oh man, well, maybe she might make a switch and decide that these people are actually good. I'm like, no, she's a villain. I'm just counting down the episodes until she has the confrontation and winds up getting killed off, because yeah, I can't see her being around another season. But as far as the whole thing of, yes, she was traitor to the belt. We are belter. No, like, unfortunately, like, because there is a schism between Drummer and Karai. Is that how you spell his name?
Corral or Carol or
Carl. Okay.
Yeah,
So because there's the schism between those two, you've got Marco's spy there who was trying to sow more dissent, and so yeah, there's gonna obviously, because obvious villain is obvious. There's going to be an attempt on Drummer's life, and Drummer's girlfriend is gonna have to pick a side at that moment, where it's like, hey, are you gonna be with me, or are you gonna be with the terrorist? But I didn't really have any problems with the scene necessarily. I mean, obviously, the gut punch that that Drummer was feeling. I mean, did she down that whole damn bottle? Like,
Pretty much.
I couldn't tell if she downed the whole bottle, but just her, in her room, just like floating on her side like that. I was like, oh man, this is.
Yeah. Someone else pointed out to me a line she said in season 4 that I kind of forgot. Where she told Ashford that I don't drink when I'm sad, I drink when I'm angry.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things too where. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say it's one of those things where this is going to be an interesting dynamic going forward because, Naomi was Drummer's friend. Naomi wasn't everyone else's friend. So, now, especially, with what happens at the end, we got to see how that plays out because, is Carl's loyalty more towards Drummer, or is it to this Belter cause now? Because now you got to ask the question, like, all right, they know what the plan is. They know the plan is to have the Rossi come there and kaboom in the middle of space, and another big win for Mr. Norris there. But now that there's the whole thing of this message, and it being corrupted and it being an obvious thing, like, oh wait, this wasn't supposed to happen. Does she go and tell Drummer, hey, your friend might not be dead because we found something, or is she gonna be like, well, you know what, the cause is more important, so we stay the course?
Carell doesn't give a fuck about Drummer, so I think that would be a pretty easy answer. But anyway, I want to address something Elvis said in the chat, and I'm sorry, I want to do this respectfully, but I have to 1,000% disagree with you. I have to disagree with you extremely strongly when you say Carell has a gun too. She was ready, trust me. She would be dead. There is no way. Carell versus Drummer, there's no fucking way Drummer would kill her dead if it wasn't for Alex, she would be dead. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no way. You're facing Drummer in her rage, you are dead. You're not, I don't care how ready you are, if you have a gun, you are fucking dead. And plus, someone else pointed out later in the chat that she arrogantly believes that she has the protection of Marco, because she knows that if they kill her, then Marco's going to kill them. So that's what she's betting on. So I don't even think she was that ready with the gun. She's betting on that to protect her, which is a stupid thing to bet, because Drummer wouldn't give a fuck about that in the moment. Had Alexandra not been there to stop her, she'd be fucking dead. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. 1,000%. But anyway.
Yeah. Carell is the political officer, effectively, that used to be on old Russian ships. You had the one that was committed to the cause, that was part of the Communist Party, and he was the one that was working with the KGB connections and was making sure that the ship was doing what, command wanted, and there wasn't any independent thought or captain deciding to do something else on it. And I do think that she plays that role very well. But yeah, I also think she leans into it and, like you said, is expecting that Inaros protection. And because of that sort of armors her. Whereas Drummer is a warrior. Drummer was a warrior long before. She's a warrior in the captain's seat, and even as the captain of a scavenge ship, she's a warrior. And I, while Corral might be tough in her own regards, I don't think she has any idea what she's really up against and dealing with Drummer. Again,
I'm sorry, I gotta reemphasize how she would not stand a chance. No way, no how. But anyway.
Oh no! I'm saying. I mean, I think Drummer would mow her over. Yeah.
I'm not against you, Darrin, because Elvis was reemphasizing that Corral is ready. But I was like, no. It doesn't matter how ready she was. I don't even think she was that ready. You can't be ready for Drummer's raid. You just can't.
Oh, and sorry, I meant Oksana, not Corral.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I thought you might have meant that. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right, so let us move over to the last storyline. Let's talk about Naomi and her trap. Now, these scenes I think did move a bit slowly, but as I said in my review, I think I didn't really understand her actions of what she was doing. But I think this is where I think this is why I think there's such an amazing performance by Dominic Tepper, because I think it was her reactions which made me understand what was going on. It was how she reacted and how just desperate the situation was, how she was pretty much well fucked, and she's on a moving bomb that's going to kill her friends, and she has little resources to do, and she uses her like I was going to say, what was it? MacGyver-esque sort of engineering abilities to try to come up with some desperate attempt to stop this from happening, and to see like her desperations and her reactions and her willing to like put on this suit that didn't have an oxygen bottle, so it just had the oxygen whatever was in the suit at the time, and that's why it kept running out and having to go back and forth over and over again, how that was like depleting her body, but she kept doing it just to pull off this tiny plan to change the message, to say that I'm in control rather than I'm in distress. Which is a very tiny thing, but I thought this performance was amazing. It really sold the scene, and that's why I think this is the best character work the whole show. Like, I think this season is like turning out to be. Someone in the chat earlier asked, do you think season 5 is the best season of the show? After watching this episode, I say yes. I think it is, because of the character come off a lot stronger. You get to know them more, particularly some of the tertiary characters like Amos and Naomi. So I was sold on these things. But anyway, Darrin, we'll start with you. Your thoughts on these things?
Yeah, I think Dominic Tepper just kicked ass throughout all of these scenes. And I love the choice of subtle makeup for the effects of her spacing. There's always that urge to try and, overdo things and really throw the impact. I like the fact that it was small, and so her, like you said, reactions to everything, to trying to hold and grab something, the bits where you could see she was blind and starting to see, and her uncertainty about grabbing things and moving things. I think it really, her performance reinforced the gravity of her situation, I think, really well. It did take me a little bit to figure out, like you said, what she was doing when she was going into that front area. I mean, I understood that she was trying to manipulate the radio signal, but the marks that she was doing, I was like, why? Until I realized, because she knows she's going to lose it. I think she's keeping track of how many junction boxes that she's going through, so she knows where to go for the next one, which again is a small, subtle thing. But I think once they build that up and they show the bit, it shows how much she's really having to, like you said, MacGyver and think and deal with the fact that she has a compromised system to try and do something that's already complicated. And yeah, the emotional reactions from hearing the message and here's a success, but here's a failure, and will this message go out? And, I think I really liked how they played this scene. And I think it was important to kind of have her alone and show that she's having to dig in and make those choices and rely on every bit of knowledge and ability that she has in order to try and figure this out. And I really think it helped the whole tension of the scene. I felt the small victories. I felt the big defeats. I felt the fear and uncertainty. And yeah, ending the episode with just her repeating altered a message out, even through the credits. I mean, they made some awesome choices in this, and I really love that. I just because it sticks with you, and you're just like, oh, someone get there, someone get that message, someone. Oh, is it going to be Drummer? Is it going to be Holden? Are they going to hear it in time? I thought they set that up just beautifully. What about you, Lucky? What did you think?
Yeah, so very, very powerful sequences. It was sad, obviously, to see her going through what she was going through. And it's one of those things where, these are the times where you really are able to, where you're able to see what an actor is made of, because it's just her there by herself having to carry the material and not much in the way of dialogue, so there's a lot of physical choices that have to be made. There's a lot of having to sell being in distress, a lot having, riding on the way that it's presented in terms of, okay, this person is fighting desperately to be able to change this message in the hopes that when it's retransmitted again, that they'll see like, oh, okay, the message has changed. This means something, because even though there isn't a new message being transmitted, the one that was being transmitted is now different and saying, hey, this is Naomi Nagata. I'm in control. All right, well, maybe approach with caution, or maybe don't approach at all now that she's, sending out this altered version of the message, and yeah, what she had to go through in terms of not having an oxygen supply to protect her from the CO2 in that cabinet or that chamber or whatever, and her, doing her best to figure out like, okay, I gotta go through all these different junction boxes, and as soon as I figure out the right one, the right sequence, and hit it at the right time, then I can, tweak this in order to manipulate it to say what I needed to say, and just finally getting that last one and being able to get the triumph out of it, and just like the pain on her face, and you see like the bruising start to come from the oxygen deprivation, and her having to fight her way through that, and the bumps and bruises that she's taken along the way, just in this in this sequence of her going back and forth through a corridor, yeah, top-notch acting on her part, and yeah, I mean, listen, again, I've said it, a few times through this. You put this in the hands of a lesser actor, and it would come off as comical, when this is something that's a harrowing situation. So yeah, kudos to the actor who has performed admirably in this situation, and can't wait to see how it's all resolved.
Another point I thought was pretty interesting was when she got the distress call from Alex, and she was just as upset that it was Alex that was going to die rather than Holden, and both were equally horrifying to her. And I like that. I think that was a nice touch. And I like how Alex is completely oblivious. Oh, we got your distress call. Don't worry, we're on the way. She's like, no! And that sort of drove her more to, try to stop that from happening. Of course, and no matter who triggers it, would mean her own death as well. So that's also something to be worried about.
Sure. Well, and I think that's also great because, I love, that reaction spurs her on to push through. And I love her, again, memorizing the message, the timing of it, so that she could do the interruption and know exactly where to do it. Small things, but these really pull us in. And even the feeling like she's pushing her CO2 levels once she got to it. How many times can I get this out? How can I set this? How many times can I throw it? Because I think ultimately she has to depend on the fact that not only did they get the message, but then they get the changed message and know that something is up there. I think just getting the tell James Holden I'm in control isn't enough. I think you have to have the two of them to go, oh, well, something is wrong here, but she's definitely there, so maybe we should be cautious. And I think that's the best thing that she can hope for, is a kind of a questionable caution once they do show up. But yeah, it's tense, and we feel that.
Yeah, and I agree. That was an amazing way to end the episode with having that distress call play, like over the credits, like this. Just like that's when I kind of started to change my mind. And I wish it was kind of dropped all at once because I was like, want to see the next episode so badly, but it's a good way, to keep you enticed.
Well, I mean, the fact that we've spent almost 2 hours talking about this one episode, I mean, just shows the reasons of why they like to do the week to week, because there is that tension and why we want the quick fix, man. I want to dive through that whole bag of candy right now, but it's better that I get to enjoy a little piece throughout, once or twice a week and be able to catch it up that way. I felt it. So many times the episode ends and I'm like, no, I want to know what happens. But that is, that's why we talk about it. I think it's a better choice to do show. That's why I think it's a better choice to do a lot of these shows, especially the big ones, week to week. Draw it out. Give us that anticipation.
No, don't get me wrong, Elvis. I completely agree with you. Week to week is better. Definitely. It's just, it tries me though. And things like this. It makes me think, but anyway, who's it? Ramona Floyd says, LOL, dude, that kitty cat ain't coming out. Well, no, she's comfortable playing on the ground right now. I'm trying to entice her to go up. Where is she? There she is. It's just playing with her on the ground. Anyway, so, I think that's about it. That about covers the episode. So, thanks, guys, so much for watching. We did go a little bit long on this one, but I think it's worthy of discussion. Had a lot of robust debates. Great discussion. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for joining. Thank you for Ramona Floyd, Sentient, Colonel Doomsday, Elvis, Alyssa, and everyone else. Alyssa says, I came a little bit late. Did I miss the Enterprise theme song reference? It seems to have become a weekly tradition. I forgot about that. I guess
and that's okay.
I forgot to do it because it's been a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, let's go ahead and end with the shout outs of what you're up to, where people can find you. We'll start with you, Don. Where can people find you and your more active cat?
Well, you can find me here on Earth. But yeah, make sure to check me out on Twitter at Don Willi. It's IDONWILLI. And of course, here doing the Expanse stuff with Marco. And also, if I'm not here, you can also find me with this guy over here doing some Marvel things. Hey, you know what, Darrin, we got to talk. WandaVision. Anyway, yeah, and sooner or later or sooner, or sometime or something, I'm gonna start working on these damn House of the Dragon videos. Sooner or later, damn it. All right, but yeah, I think Darrin, I will turn it over to you. People tired of hearing me talking, probably. I guess.
Yeah, well, I'm Darrin. I host D's Reviews. We are doing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season wrap-ups. I think the next one is going to be season 3 next month. We don't have a date announced yet, so if you want to like and subscribe my channel, we'll keep you up on all the updates. You can also catch me on Twitter and Instagram. That is at Darrin Jakes right here, where I also do a lot of announcements. But of course, you can catch me every week The Expanse is on, right here with Mark, talking the show, occasionally with Don, occasionally with Alyssa, but always with all of you awesome people live in the chat. Always appreciate you having. I do want to leave with one small note. Like I said, I am out of town. I'm journeyed beyond the ring gates, and the television I'm watching everything on has motion smoothing, which is the worst invention ever. It makes everything look like it was shot on videotape, and it really affects the matting for all of the special effects. So if you guys get a new TV, make sure you turn motion smoothing off. It is a horrible invention, and Tom Cruise is right. It ruins films and everything else that it's on. So that's my public service message for now. I'll turn it back over to this guy right here.
I have not heard that one before. That's a good good thing to be aware of. Anyway, so my name is Mark Channels and Chapman of Eternity. I shall be here every week, as Darrin said, with Darrin and other guests to cover the rest of the Expanse. I also do my own reviews on the Expanse, and also I cover other shows such as many Star Trek shows, including Enterprise, and also covering other shows like Breaking Bad, The Outer Limits, and more. So be sure to check out my channel, and thanks again for everyone for joining, and we'll see you all next time.
Damn belters.